Hi guys, good afternoon. It's Miss Metcalfe. Today we're going to learn about how to multiply fractions, mixed numbers, and whole numbers. Make sure that you have your notes page out, that you're ready to fill it in, and then you will have some problems to do after we're done with our notes as well. Now, our first problem that we're going to start out with here is 3/4 times 2/5. So notice here we have some steps that we're going to follow when we multiply our fractions, mixed numbers, and whole numbers. As long as we follow these steps, it can be really easy. Step number 1 says that we need to rewrite each mixed number or whole number as an improper fraction first, if it's necessary. In this first problem, 3/4 times 2/5, we don't have any whole numbers or mixed numbers, so we can actually skip that step. Step 2 says that we need to multiply our numerators and then multiply our denominators. So I'm going to go ahead and write my problem, 3/4 times 2/5. And I'm going to go ahead and write that 3 times 2, when I multiply my numerators, is 6. 4 times 5, when I multiply my denominators, is 20. So 3/4 times 2/5 would be 6/20. Our final step will always be to simplify our answer if it's necessary. Also, that does mean to change our improper fractions back to mixed numbers for proper math terminology. So let's take our fraction of 6/20 and let's divide that by 6 and 20's greatest common factors, which would actually be 2. If I do 6 divided by 2, I would get a new numerator of 3, and 20 divided by 2 would give me a new denominator of 10. That means my final answer would be 3/10. Let's look at our second example now. Our second example has us multiplying 2 2/3 times 1 5/8. I did notice that these are actually mixed numbers since there is a whole number with a fraction. So that means we are going to have to do step number 1, where we rewrite each mixed number or whole number as an improper fraction. Hopefully we remember how to do that. If we don't remember how to change these mixed numbers to improper fractions, you can use my trick. The trick that we use to change mixed numbers to improper fractions is called Texas two-step around the world. I'm going to label T and X in my mixed number, just like the abbreviations for Texas, and then I'm going to do my around the world. So notice we marked Texas for our 2 steps that we have to follow. We're going to multiply and then we're going to add, and we make sure that we go from bottom to top in our around the world. So 3 times 2 would give me 6, plus 2 more would give me a new numerator of 8, and our denominator is always going to stay the same when we change those mixed numbers to improper fractions. Now let's do the same thing for 1 5/8. Again, I have my Texas 2 steps around the world. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 5 would be 13 as my new numerator, and my denominator of 8 would stay the same. I'm also going to go ahead and carry my multiplication symbol down, which we can also use this floating dot as a multiplication symbol. Now I need to follow step 2, which means I'm going to multiply my numerators. So I'm going to need to do 13 times 8 here off to the side. 8 times 3 gives me 24, so put my 4 down, carry my 2. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 more would be 10. So that means 8 times 13 gives me a new numerator of 104. And then I'm going to multiply my denominators. 3 times 8 gives me 24 for my new denominator. Our last step now is to simplify our fraction if necessary. That does also mean to change this improper fraction, since the larger number's on top, we need to change that improper fraction back to a mixed number. Well, how do we do that? First, if I were you, I would simplify this fraction. So I know that I can simplify it just by looking at it. Since they're both even numbers, I'm going to divide them both by 2. So they're smaller numbers that I can handle a little bit better. If I cut 104 in half, that would give me 52. If I cut 24 in half or divide it by 2, I get 12. Now I still have an improper fraction of 52/12. To change an improper fraction back to a mixed number, we need to do what the fraction tells me to do, and that's divide. 52 divided by 12. That means 52 is my cowboy, 12 is my horse. I'm going to put 52 inside my house, 12 outside. 12 will fit into 52 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48. When I subtract, I would have 6 left. Notice that my whole number would be 4, since that's how many times 12 fit into 52. My remainder, my leftover pieces, becomes my numerator, and my denominator from my fraction, the 12, my horse, is going to stay the same. So now I have a mixed number of 4 and 6/12, but I notice something. I can still simplify this fraction even more. So I'm going to divide both 6 and 12 by 2. By 6, their greatest common factor. So that would give me 4 and 1/2 as my final answer for 2 2/3 times 1 5/8. Let's go ahead and look at our last example now. We have a fraction that we are multiplying with a whole number. Now notice step 1 says we need to rewrite each mixed number or whole number as an improper fraction. In other words, I want to make sure that this whole number has both a numerator and a denominator. Right now it's just a whole number. We can actually write any whole number over 1, and 1 will be its denominator. Well, why does that work? Let's remember that a fraction is an unsolved division problem. This really means 15 divided by 1. And 15 divided by 1 is still my whole number of 15. So I haven't changed the value at all. That means we can put any whole number over 1 to make it look like a fraction. So now I have 1/3 times 15 over 1. I can follow step 2 now and multiply my numerators. 1 times 15 gives me 15. And then I'm going to multiply my denominators. 3 times 1 gives me 3. So now I have 15 over 3. I need to follow my last step, which is to simplify if necessary. That also means I change my improper fractions back to mixed numbers. Well, in this case, 15 divided by 3 would actually give me 5. So when I multiply 1/3 times 15, I would actually get a whole number of 5 as my final answer, since 15 divided by 3 gives me 5 and there's no remainders or fraction pieces left over. Guys, remember that you can watch these notes as many times as you need to make sure you have everything filled in and that you are understanding how to multiply your fractions, mixed numbers, and whole numbers. Once you've completed all of your notes, you need to flip to the inside and complete problems 3 through 8 for class tomorrow. All 6 of these problems need to be done before you come to class tomorrow. Make sure you come to the homework center in the morning as well if you need some more assistance. Have a good night.